everybody, welcome to another quick episode of Xactimate estimating tips and tricks. This is Nick. Been requested to make a video regarding variables, graphical estimating, calculations, so on and so forth, right? I realized diving into it that it was going to be entirely too much for one video, so we're going to split this into a couple mini-series. First thing we're going to start with on this video are the variables, how to locate them, how they work, and how to apply some calculations from the sketch, right? It'll be really quick, easy to get a hold of, and I'll show you some tips and tricks for changing actions, so on and so forth. So you can see, you got your roof sketch, right? This is an eagle view or a hover imported in, and it lays out all of the faces if you have the legend turned on. If you don't know how to turn the legend on, click your view button down here, and you can see everything here. Roof annotations, measurements, actually have those turned off, but if you click that, you see it's a huge roof, so it just makes everything crazy, right? It's just a lot to look at. So each roof and each roof that you're going to draw will have a list of variables that go with it. So I'm going to show you just a quick example. Just click the face of what you want to look at, click properties, and it'll show you here, right? This is roof 38. It's got roof walls extended. It's a subgroup of the whole roof. Eaves, it shows you everything. Here are all your variables, okay? F38 is 15.33 squared. This face, if you zoom in right here, is F38, okay? That's where all the variables apply, everything goes. So you can click and it'll explain it and kind of break it down. If you're having to do a per slope or a per face repair, okay, you can do it from the estimate items pane. Depends on what the calculation is. You can look at, F38 and drop a dot in here and try SQ to see if it works. And that doesn't work, right? So the way you apply these can be tricky. Sometimes it wants it to be roof38.sq. That worked, and that's the way it looks, right? Well, you say, how do you figure that out? The variables don't make any sense. How did you know to do roof38.sq? Here's your grouping code. Here's your variable. It doesn't look like that it would work without, if you just put roof38.sq, may not work. The period indicates that you're doing roof38 dot the next variable. So you can do .eve, .flash, .hip, .r. If it had r, does 0 here, and it would make that happen, right? The easiest way to do this, and I'm going to delete these. I like to estimate graphically from the sketch, okay? So if you drop this here and you have this line item, you can see the faces where it's going to put it turns green. The problem is this line item right now is a remove and replace line item. I am going to try to, we'll start with the tear off first, right? So we'll just go to the ARMV and we're going to tear off, haul off, and dispose. We're going to use F38, F24, F60, and F18. You can see as you're dropping on the sketch, it shows where they highlight and it fills the variables out at the bottom. Now, if you wanted to match that, you can easily estimate with the shingle replacement or anything on this screen, or you can just go in and manually do it. If you wanted to do everything from the sketch to make sure it was there, get your line item, and don't just click it, right? It's going to duplicate. Right-click on the screen, and it's going to bring up a separate window. This is going to allow you to change the action of the item. You can change it to replace only. Click OK. Now when you drop it, you'll see it popping in at the bottom. It has replace only on it. So auto waste is where this comes into play. You cannot do auto waste on some of these estimates without using the variables, right? So we're just gonna put this at 51.33, and I'll just show you this to where you understand why this happens. We're gonna turn auto waste on. This isn't part of the lesson, but this is gonna give you an example of what happens, right? We're gonna do the valleys are close cut, ridge and hip, eave starter, do the usual, click OK. So I manually applied this, and I'm going to go in and turn on auto calculate. I'm going to click yes. I'm going to click no on that, click yes on that, and make it happen. When that happens, you're going to get this note. the roof waste is not available. This is where you have to do the variables. Like I said, the best way is, if you don't want to just copy and paste, is to do them on the sketch, right? Take it, get your line item back, right click, change it to replace only, click OK, and then drop it. As you're dropping it, you see now it automatically calculated the waste, and if we go in and look at that note, it drops it all right for us. Okay, it skips a step, takes some time, saves you the effort of having to do it manually later. Variables on the roof all work this way. A lot of times you can't do, like if you're trying to do drip edge, you want to do drip edge on the sketch, but it's replace only. Again, you just take your line item, replace, click OK, and then you find your roof faces, right? So you can see this, again, that's doing roof38.p, right? That's the variable, and you can drop it and make it happen. And you change the action, and you're doing it in order, that it goes. Your sketch will start looking like this. I mean, you can put roof vents in anything, right? So that is the basic concept of graphically estimating for roof variables. And I know a lot of you will never have to do this if you don't use auto waste, but auto waste will not work without these variables. If you're doing a repair and you're doing a single slope, or you're doing something like that, it doesn't work. It has to have the variables, and as you saw, once you set your preferences right, everything's in there to match the guidelines. It automatically calculates right from the sketch. I mean, you can literally do anything from the sketch. You got a pipe jack, I don't know, drop one there, and you see all the different variables that it's automatically populating in, right? Well, if you go to this pane and just say you have flashing, you want to do some, just say some step flashing. So the variable is roof 38. So you just take roof 38, drop it in, and drop in dot flash. That is the variable of 27.88. You want to check and verify, go to roof 38, look at it down here, 27.88. If you didn't want to keep flopping back and forth, right? You just kind of want to, do it here, drop it on the roof, and it tells you you see this is not a typical area for this item. So you can see it go into the roof wall here, it tries to go to the roof face. The reason step flashing is so hard to do on the sketch is you have to have it in the right spot. You drop it on the roof wall, and it puts it in the main level, not on the sketch. Difficult and tricky to do, right? If you wanted to drag it and do a manual adjustment, I mean, you can drag it and it'll line it green, run it here, and then if you want to run it here, drag it out and do it. Oh, I overlapped there. And it just puts it in different areas. So some items don't work, some items are not good to use on the sketch, but anything that will use a roof face is. You just have to understand the variables. Once you do part of it and you see the faces you're repairing, you can literally come back and do that. Just throw 14-inch flashing in there. You can do the same variable, roof 38 dot flash. And there it is. You want to do roof 38 dot eve. You want to do roof 38 dot rake, which I don't think it has any, or it's going to be very little. Yeah, there you go, 2.43. You want to do roof 38 dot valley. Doesn't have any valleys on that roof, so it's a dead variable. You want to do, you can make it look really weird, and you can do dot square foot, and it'll match the square footage of that slope, 15.33 square, and do it in linear foot. I mean, you would never want to do that, but I'm just showing you an example, right? Once you do the variables from the sketch, you can translate them all the way down to the estimate. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask, but this is the first part of graphically estimating and understanding how the variables apply. We will continue on with this series. Thank you for watching.